The Colonial Pipeline, stretching from Houston to New Jersey, is the largest refined products pipeline in the US. It carries gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel, the lifeblood of modern America. But a digital menace was brewing, threatening to bring this vital artery to a standstill. Ransomware gangs like DarkSide operate in lines of code, holding data hostage for ransoms. DarkSide's malware infiltrated Colonial Pipeline's systems, silently probing for weaknesses. The pipeline, a symbol of American strength, was about to become a pawn in a high-stakes cyber game. DarkSide breached Colonial Pipeline's defenses through a legacy VPN system. They moved through the network, targeting the IT systems controlling fuel flow. Bypassing firewalls and disabling security protocols, they left no trace. Their goal to encrypt critical data and cripple the pipeline. Engineers and technicians watched in horror as their screens displayed, "Your files have been encrypted." The pipeline, the lifeblood of millions, was now in the clutches of cyber criminals. The clock was ticking. May 7th, 2021. Colonial Pipeline shut down to contain the ransomware attack. The move sent shockwaves through the nation, igniting panic and uncertainty. Gas stations were besieged by long lines of anxious motorists. Prices surged, and the American public faced the unsettling prospect of fuel shortages. Airports braced for potential fuel shortages, grounding flights. Trucking companies grappled with delivery delays and soaring fuel costs. Government officials assured the public they were working to resolve the crisis. Cybersecurity experts worked around the clock to break DarkSide's grip on the pipeline. DarkSide demanded $4.4 million in Bitcoin to unlock the pipeline's data. Colonial Pipeline's executives faced an agonizing decision: pay the ransom or risk a prolonged shutdown. The Ransom Note was a stark reminder of the power dynamics at play. They were now at the mercy of cybercriminals. Gas stations became scenes of mounting tension and long lines. The digital attack disrupted the daily routines of millions. News reports fueled anxiety with images of empty pumps and soaring prices. Some filled every available container with fuel, exacerbating the shortage. Opportunists sold gasoline at exorbitant prices to desperate motorists. The attack exposed the vulnerability of a nation dependent on interconnected systems. The digital world had breached the divide, its consequences rippling through society. The shutdown extended far beyond the gas pump, slowing the nation to a standstill. Highways saw traffic dwindle as motorists conserved fuel. Airports faced delays and cancellations due to dwindling fuel supplies. Businesses faced disruptions to their supply chains, with deliveries delayed or cancelled. The stock market reacted with volatility, reflecting the uncertainty. The attack exposed the fragility of the nation's just-in-time economy. The crisis reached into the heartland, affecting farmers and essential services. Hospitals faced the prospect of fuel shortages impacting their operations. Emergency responders braced for delayed response times. The attack triggered urgent discussions on cybersecurity. It highlighted the need for enhanced security measures and public-private partnerships. The pressure mounted as the nation demanded a resolution. Inside Colonial Pipeline's headquarters, executives faced an agonizing dilemma. Paying the ransom meant succumbing to extortion, but refusing risked prolonged shutdown. The economic impact was already being felt far and wide. Businesses struggled, families felt the pinch, and daily life frayed at the edges. It was a race against time, with the nation's well-being hanging in the balance. Colonial Pipeline decided to pay the $4.4 million ransom in Bitcoin. Critics decried the decision, arguing it would embolden ransomware gangs. DarkSide provided a decryption tool and the company began system restoration. Engineers worked tirelessly to purge the malware and restore fuel flow. It was a race against time to alleviate the fuel crisis. The ransom payment ignited controversy and debate. Some condemned the payment as a dangerous precedent. The attack highlighted the vulnerability of critical infrastructure. Calls for increased cybersecurity measures echoed across the nation. The incident sparked a debate about the role of government in responding to cyber attacks. The Colonial Pipeline attack left a legacy of tough questions and choices, forcing a nation to confront the growing threat of cyber warfare. The Colonial Pipeline attack was a shot across the bow, a stark demonstration of the nation's vulnerability in the digital age. The immediate crisis, though painful, served as a harsh wake-up call, spurring a flurry of activity in Washington, D.C. and corporate boardrooms across the country. The message was clear. The digital realm was no longer a separate domain, a playground for tech-savvy youth, but a battleground where national security and economic stability were at stake. President Biden, his face etched with the gravity of the situation, signed an executive order aimed at bolstering the nation's cyber defenses. The order, a sweeping set of directives, called for increased investment in cybersecurity, strengthened partnerships between the government and the private sector, and a renewed focus on critical infrastructure protection. The message was clear. Cybersecurity was no longer an afterthought, a line item in the budget, but a top national priority. Congress, too, sprang into action, holding hearings and drafting legislation aimed at addressing the ransomware epidemic. Lawmakers, once content to leave cybersecurity to the tech people, were now grappling with the complexities of digital warfare, the intricacies of encryption, and the shadowy world of cyber-criminal organizations. The Colonial Pipeline attack, in its aftermath, had forced its way onto the national agenda, demanding attention and action. The private sector, too, felt the heat. Companies, large and small, were suddenly confronted with the very real possibility of a cyber attack that could cripple their operations, damage their reputations, and impact their bottom line. Cybersecurity budgets were increased, security audits were conducted, and employees were bombarded with training modules on phishing scams and password hygiene. The Colonial Pipeline attack had shaken the corporate world from its complacency, forcing a long overdue reckoning with the risks of operating in an increasingly interconnected and vulnerable digital landscape. Section 2. The Dragon's Tail, Unraveling DarkSide. While the nation grappled with the fallout of the attack, a different kind of operation was underway, one shrouded in secrecy and driven by a thirst for justice. The FBI, their digital forensics teams working tirelessly, had launched a full-scale investigation into DarkSide, determined to hunt down the perpetrators and dismantle their criminal enterprise. The chase was on, a digital manhunt that would span continents and delve into the darkest corners of the internet. The investigators followed the money, tracing the flow of Bitcoin from the Colonial Pipeline ransom payment through a labyrinthine network of digital wallets and exchanges. They collaborated with international partners, sharing intelligence and coordinating efforts to track down the hackers who were believed to be operating from Russia or Eastern Europe. The pressure mounted as the investigation gained momentum. The US government, determined to send a message that cyber attacks would not go unpunished, offered a $10 million reward for information leading to the identification or location of DarkSide's leaders. The walls were closing in, the digital dragnet tightening around the elusive hackers. Then, almost as suddenly as they had appeared, DarkSide vanished. Their website went dark, their communication channels went silent, and their digital infrastructure evaporated into thin air. Whether driven by fear of retribution, internal strife, or a strategic retreat, DarkSide's disappearance left a void in the cybercriminal underworld, a testament to the power of international cooperation and the relentless pursuit of justice in the digital age. Section 3, the new battlefield. The Colonial Pipeline attack was a watershed moment exposing the vulnerability of critical infrastructure. It forced governments and corporations to rethink their approach to cybersecurity and invest in tools and partnerships to navigate the complex digital landscape. The battle against cyber threats is far from over. As technology evolves, so does the sophistication of cyber criminals. The challenge is to adapt to this ever-changing threat landscape, embrace a culture of cybersecurity awareness, and work together to build a secure digital future. Cybersecurity is a shared responsibility requiring collaboration and innovation. The future of our digital lives depends on meeting this challenge head-on. The Colonial Pipeline attack was a wake-up call, a stark reminder of the stakes in the digital age. It is a war fought with bits and bytes, algorithms and exploits, a war that will be won or lost in the digital trenches. The security measures we implement will determine the fate of our interconnected world. Section 1, a wake-up call. The Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack was a watershed moment, a stark and unsettling demonstration of how vulnerable our modern world is to cyber attacks. This wasn't just about fuel shortages and price hikes. It was a shot across the bow, a stark reminder that the digital and physical worlds are now inextricably intertwined. The everyday conveniences we take for granted, the systems that underpin our daily lives, are all vulnerable to disruption from actors who operate in the shadows of the internet. The attack forced us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Our reliance on digital infrastructure has outpaced our ability to secure it. For too long, cybersecurity has been seen as an IT issue, a technical matter for specialists to handle. But the Colonial Pipeline incident made it abundantly clear that cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. From governments and corporations to small businesses and individuals, we all have a role to play in building a more resilient and secure digital future. The attack served as a wake-up call, prompting a long overdue conversation about the importance of cybersecurity in the 21st century. It forced governments to re-evaluate their cyber defenses, businesses to bolster their security protocols, and individuals to become more aware of the risks they face online. The attack was a painful lesson, but one that we cannot afford to ignore. The Colonial Pipeline attack was a stark reminder that we are all interconnected, that an attack on one is an attack on all. It highlighted the need for greater collaboration, both domestically and internationally, to combat cybercrime and build a more secure digital future. The attack was a challenge, but it was also an opportunity to learn from our mistakes, to strengthen our defenses, and to work together to create a safer and more resilient digital world. Section 2. The road ahead, forging a secure digital future. The Colonial Pipeline attack was a wake-up call, marking a turning point in our digital dependence. We must fortify our defenses against those who exploit them. By embracing innovation and collaboration, we can create a safer digital future. Governments must prioritize cybersecurity investments, fostering public-private partnerships to share threat intelligence and develop best practices. We need to invest in research and development, nurturing the next generation of cybersecurity professionals. International cooperation is also paramount. Cybercrime knows no borders, and only through collaboration can we combat this threat. Businesses must prioritize cybersecurity, integrating it into their DNA. Investing in robust security infrastructure and conducting regular security audits are essential. But technology alone is not enough. We need to foster a culture of cybersecurity awareness. Educating employees about strong passwords and phishing scams is crucial. The road ahead will be challenging, but by working together, we can build a more secure and prosperous digital future for all.